Now to the latest in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin is ordering his forces not to storm the last Ukrainian stronghold in the besieged city of Mariupol and instead to continue blocking it so that not even a, quote, fly can fly through. Putin's orders come after the Russian defense minister told him this morning that the steel factory, where thousands of Ukrainian troops and civilians are holed up, was securely blocked by their forces. Putin also hailed control of the rest of Mariupol as a, quote, success. His comments also come just hours after Ukrainian officials said Moscow's forces have been relentlessly bombing the plant. They also say that Russian troops yesterday attacked a makeshift hospital near the factory, trapping hundreds of people under the rubble.
And President Zelensky is warning the situation in Mariupol is, quote, extremely severe, and said now he is open to a diplomatic solution to resolve the crisis there. Speaking at a news conference yesterday, Zelensky said Ukraine is ready to exchange Russian prisoners in return for civilians trapped in Mariupol. Zelensky said, quote, we are ready for any formats for exchange. I am ready for the dialogue. Zelensky also said Ukrainian fighters in Mariupol need serious and heavy weapons soon, urging the West not to delay any shipments. He said his forces do not have enough of these weapons and are unable to unblock, as he said, the Russian siege of the crucial seaside port without help from Western allies. Joining us now, NBC foreign correspondent Raf Sanchez. He is live for us again this morning from Lviv, Ukraine. Raf, good morning. What's the latest? Could there be some sort of a diplomatic exchange here between Ukraine and Russia to ease the situation in Mariupol?
Willie, it's not looking likely. Vladimir Putin, appearing with his defense minister this morning, says his forces have successfully, quote, liberated Mariupol. Now, that is one way to describe what they have done in that city. As you said, Putin says he no longer sees any need to storm that steel plant where Ukrainian forces are holed up. Instead, he's content to just maintain the siege as his troops go about asserting their domination over the rest of Mariupol. Now, there are two ways to look at this. You could see this as a sign of Russian success, that they have so comprehensively surrounded those remaining Ukrainian troops that they're really no longer any threat to Russia's grip on the city. That's one way of looking at it. But another is that this is an admission by Vladimir Putin that he is unable to take that factory by force, or at least unable to take that factory by force without losing an enormous number of his troops. So instead, he is going to keep his men around the perimeter of that plant for as long as it takes to starve these very determined Ukrainian troops out. Reminder, these are troops that he needs elsewhere on that enormous 300-mile front where he is fighting in the east of the country. Now, Willie, you and I have marveled day after day after day at the bravery of these Ukrainian fighters who seem prepared to fight to the death rather than laying down their arms and survive. But when you look at what happened in Bucha, when you look at what happened in Borodyanka, you can understand why these Ukrainian troops and the civilians with them are very worried about what might happen to them if they do indeed surrender, if they do go into Russian custody. And just underscoring this, an advisor to the mayor of Mariupol saying this morning they have discovered a mass grave in a village to the west of the city. Now, NBC News has not independently confirmed that, but if it is the case, it is perhaps a precursor of the horrors that we may yet to see after these weeks and weeks of siege in Mariupol. Now, the Ukrainian government, from President Zelensky on down, is saying they are prepared to negotiate about the situation in Mariupol. They will send negotiators to that city today without any preconditions to meet their Russian counterparts and try to come up with a way to get both those fighters and the civilians out of the steel plant. Willie, right now we are seeing no appetite at all from the Kremlin for any kind of talks. They seem prepared to accept nothing less than unconditional surrender. Willie?
And as you say, how could the Ukrainians have any trust whatsoever in those negotiations or any negotiations with Russia, given what the Russian military has wrought in their country? Raf Sanchez in Lviv, Ukraine, for us again this morning. Raf, thanks so much. Mika?